The first letter arrived with a blood stain on it. Not a big stain. Just one small red mark near the corner of the envelope. And when Clara Bennett opened it inside her tiny apartment in Chicago, she found only one sentence written in shaky handwriting. "Can you write a goodbye letter to the woman I still love before I disappear forever?" Clara stared at the page for a long time. Outside her window, rain hit the fire escape. Her coffee had already gone cold. The heater in her apartment made strange clicking sounds every few minutes, like it was struggling to stay alive, just like her. She should have ignored the request. She should have deleted the email. Instead, she opened her laptop and started writing. That decision changed her life forever. And it all began because Clara sold fake love letters online for $20 each. 3 months earlier, Clara never planned to become the love ghost. That was the anonymous name people online gave her after her letters started going viral. At first, it was just survival. Rent in Chicago was expensive. Her bookstore job barely paid enough. Her father's medical bills kept piling up. And after her boyfriend Ethan cheated on her with her own coworker, Clara stopped believing in love anyway. So one sleepless night, she posted a strange ad online. "I will write emotional love letters, apology messages, breakup notes, or secret confessions for anyone. Completely anonymous. $20 per letter." She expected maybe 1 or 2 customers. Instead, her inbox exploded. A teenage boy wanted help asking out his best friend. A divorced woman wanted one last message for her ex-husband. A lonely old man wanted a letter written to his dead wife because he missed talking to her. Some requests made Clara cry. Some made her angry. Some made her believe people were far more broken than they looked. But she wrote every single one. Because for the first time in years, her words mattered to someone. And the strange thing? People started falling in love with the letters themselves. Screenshots spread online. Comments appeared everywhere. "Whoever writes these letters understands human hearts too well. This person writes pain like poetry. I wish someone loved me enough to write to me like this." Clara stayed anonymous. No photo. No real name. Only the love ghost. And business kept growing. But one customer was different. Very different. His first request came at 2:13 a.m. on a Thursday. Subject line: "Need a letter for someone I can never have." Clara almost ignored it. She was exhausted after a 12-hour bookstore shift. Still, something about the message pulled her in. Inside was only this: "Write to a woman named Isabel. Tell her I still remember the way she tucked her hair behind her ear when nervous. Tell her I never stopped loving her. But don't tell her who sent it." No signature. No details. Just instructions. Clara frowned. Usually customers gave long explanations. This man gave almost nothing. Still, she began writing. And somehow, the words flowed too easily. "Dear Isabel. Some people leave fingerprints on your soul. Years pass. Cities change. Faces disappear. But somehow they remain. I still remember the little things about you. The way your voice softened when you spoke about your mother. The way you smiled without showing your teeth when you were truly happy. The way you pretended not to be nervous while fixing your hair behind your ear. I wonder if anyone notices those things now. I hope someone does. Because you deserve to be loved carefully. Someone who never forgot you." Clara leaned back after finishing. Her chest hurt strangely. Why did this letter feel real? Why did it feel less like writing and more like remembering? She sent it. 5 minutes later, the client replied, "You wrote exactly what I felt." "How did you know?" Clara stared at the screen. A chill ran through her. She typed carefully. "Lucky guess." But the truth was, it didn't feel like a guess at all. Over the next few weeks, the mystery buyer kept returning. Always late at night. Always anonymous. Always requesting letters for Isabel. And every request revealed another piece of their story. She learned they met in Boston. She learned Isabel loved bookstores. She learned they separated years ago after a terrible misunderstanding. But the buyer never explained what actually happened. That became the strange part. It felt like he desperately wanted Isabel back, yet refused to contact her directly. Instead, He paid a stranger to write feelings he could not say himself. Clara should have found that pathetic. Instead, she became obsessed. Without realizing it, she started waiting for his emails. And his letters became better than the others. Realer. Deeper. Like someone bleeding through words. One night, after sending another letter, Clara received something unexpected. Not a request. A question. Do you believe people can love each other at the wrong time? Clara stared at the message for a full minute. Customers weren't supposed to ask personal questions. She almost ignored it. But something inside her answered honestly. Yes. I think timing ruins more love stories than people do. 3 dots appeared instantly. Then, that sounds personal. Clara laughed softly. She typed, occupational hazard. He replied, who broke your heart? Her fingers froze above the keyboard. No customer had ever asked that before. And strangely, no one had asked her that in a long time. She should have lied. Instead, she wrote, a man who promised forever while secretly planning an exit. Several seconds passed. Then his reply came. I'm sorry. People who destroy gentle hearts deserve loneliness. Clara swallowed hard. Why did that sentence affect her so much? Why did it feel like he understood her? That night, for the first time in months, Clara smiled before sleeping. Days turned into weeks. Their conversations slowly changed. Less business. More personal. She still didn't know his name. He still didn't know hers. But somehow, strangers became comfort. He asked about her favorite books. She asked why he couldn't forget Isabel. He answered, because some people become part of your identity. Losing them feels like losing yourself. Sometimes they talked until sunrise. And every morning Clara told herself the same thing. This is stupid. You cannot become emotionally attached to an anonymous client. But loneliness makes dangerous things feel safe. Especially when someone finally sees you. Then came the night everything changed. Clara was closing the bookstore when she saw Ethan again. Her ex. He walked in laughing with the same coworker he cheated with. When he noticed Clara, his smile faded. Still working here, he asked casually. Like he hadn't destroyed her. Clara forced a smile. Still breathing too. His girlfriend rolled her eyes. Ethan stepped closer. You know, he said quietly, you were always too emotional. That's why things got hard. Too emotional. The words stabbed deeper than they should have. Because part of Clara still believed them. Ethan left. But the damage stayed. That night she returned home shaking with anger. And waiting in her inbox was another message from the anonymous buyer. Bad day. Clara blinked. Had he somehow sensed it? She typed. How do you know? His answer came immediately. Your last reply had sadness in it. Her throat tightened. No one noticed things like that. No one. Before she could stop herself, she typed everything. About Ethan. About the cheating. About feeling disposable. About how exhausting it was pretending to be okay. She expected pity. Instead, the stranger replied. He cheated because he lacked depth. Not because you lacked value. Clara stared at the screen. Tears burned her eyes instantly. Because sometimes, the words you need most come from someone you've never met. After that night, everything between them changed. The conversations became addictive. Intimate. Dangerous. They still never exchanged names. But they learned each other's souls. She learned he loved jazz music and rainy cities. He learned she read novels when anxious. He learned she talked to herself while cooking. She learned he had scars he refused to explain. And slowly, Clara stopped looking forward to real life. She started living for those midnight messages. Then one evening, a new request appeared. But this time, the subject line made her stomach drop. Write a final letter. Clara opened it immediately. Inside, this will be the last one. Tell Isabel goodbye. Her chest tightened painfully. Why goodbye? What happened? She typed quickly. Are you okay? No response. Instead, another message arrived. Just write it. Please. Something felt wrong. Deeply wrong. Still, Clara opened a blank document. Her fingers trembled while typing. Dear Isabel. Loving you was the most beautiful tragedy of my life. I think part of me knew from the beginning that we were never meant to last. But I loved you anyway. Completely. Recklessly. Without defense. If there is another life after this one, I hope we meet there first. Before pain. Before mistakes. Before timing destroys us again. And maybe there. We finally stay. Goodbye. The man who loved you until the end. When Clara finished writing, tears rolled down her cheeks. The letter felt too real. Too final. She sent it immediately. Then waited. 5 minutes. 10 minutes. An hour. No reply. For the first time since meeting him. Silence. The next morning, Clara woke to hundreds of notifications. Her heart raced. Had something happened? Hands shaking, she opened her email. One unread message. From him. Sent at 4:41 a.m. Only one sentence. Thank you for making my feelings sound worth remembering. That was it. No new request. No joke. No question. Nothing. And somehow, Clara knew something terrible was coming. 3 days passed. No messages. 4 days. Nothing. A week. Still silence. Clara checked her inbox obsessively. She couldn't focus at work. Couldn't sleep. Couldn't stop imagining horrible possibilities. Had he died? Left? Given up? Why did she care this much? They didn't even know each other. And yet, losing him felt strangely personal. Then, on the 8th night, a package appeared outside her apartment door. No return address. Inside was a small black notebook. And tucked into the first page was a handwritten note. If you are reading this, it means I finally ran out of courage. Clara's pulse exploded. She turned the page quickly. And froze. Because every page inside contained letters. Real letters. Dozens of them. All addressed to her. Not Isabel. Her. And on the final page was a name. Noah Sterling. Along with one shocking sentence that made Clara stop breathing. I never hired you to write to Isabel. Isabel never existed. I only wanted a reason to talk to you. Clara read the last sentence again. And again. And again. I never hired you to write to Isabel. Isabel never existed. I only wanted a reason to talk to you. Her hands trembled so badly the notebook nearly slipped from her fingers. The apartment suddenly felt too small. Too quiet. Too real. For weeks, she had poured pieces of herself into conversations with a stranger. She had imagined another woman. Another love story. Another heartbreak. But there had never been an Isabel. Only him. Only Noah Sterling. And somehow that truth hurt more than a lie should. Clara stood up too quickly, pacing across her tiny living room while rain tapped against the windows. Who are you? She whispered into the empty room. The notebook sat on the table like a loaded weapon. Part of her wanted to throw it away. Another part desperately needed to know everything. So she opened the next page. And started reading. Dear Clara. You once asked why I believed people could love each other at the wrong time. The truth is, I learned it from you. Before you panic, no, I'm not a stalker. At least I don't think I am. We met once. But you don't remember me. I remembered you for 5 years. Clara frowned. 5 years? Her heartbeat slowed slightly as she kept reading. It was winter in Boston. You were standing outside a coffee shop during a snowstorm, trying to calm down a crying little girl who had lost her mother. Everyone else walked past her. You stayed. You bought her hot chocolate. You sat on the freezing sidewalk for almost 20 minutes until her mother came back. You missed your own bus because of it. I remember thinking, whoever loves this woman someday will be lucky beyond words. Clara covered her mouth. The memory hit instantly. The little girl. The snow. The missed bus. She had forgotten that moment years ago. But he remembered. How? Why? She turned the page faster. I wanted to talk to you that day. But I didn't. I spent years regretting it. Then one night I found your writing online. The love ghost. I recognized you immediately. Not your face. Your heart. The same kindness. The same loneliness. So I created Isabel. Cowardly, right? But I needed a reason to stay in your life. Clara sat down slowly. Her chest ached. This was insane. Completely insane. Yet every word felt painfully sincere. She kept reading for hours. Noah wrote about everything. How her letters made him feel less alone. How he waited every night for her replies. How he started smiling again because of her. And slowly, beneath the mystery and deception, Clara saw something terrifying. He truly loved her. Not casually. Not obsessively. Deeply. The kind of love people spend entire lifetimes searching for. And somehow that scared her more than anything else. Because she felt something too. Something she had been trying not to name. At 3 a.m., Clara reached the final page. There was an address written neatly at the bottom. A lake house in northern Michigan. Underneath it, one final message. If you come, I'll tell you the truth. If you don't, I'll understand. But please know this. Every word I ever said to you is real. Clara didn't sleep that night. Or the next. Her thoughts kept spinning. Was Noah dangerous? Manipulative? Broken? Or simply lonely enough to build a fake story just to reach her? And why did part of her still want to meet him? That was the question haunting her most. Because she should have hated him. Instead, she missed him. 3 days later, Clara stood at a bus station holding a small suitcase. She stared at her ticket to Michigan with disbelief. This is crazy, she muttered. Maybe it was. But her heart had already made the decision before her brain caught up. The journey took almost 8 hours. Rain followed her nearly the entire way. By evening, the bus finally stopped near a quiet lakeside town surrounded by forests and cold gray water. The town felt frozen in time. Small diners, old gas stations, flickering streetlights, and silence. Clara checked the address again before calling a cab. The driver, an older man with tired eyes, glanced at the paper. You visiting the Sterling place? He asked. Clara nodded carefully. The man became strangely quiet. After a moment, he said softly that families had enough tragedy for 3 lifetimes. A chill crawled up Clara's spine. What do you mean? The driver hesitated, then shook his head. Small town talks too much. Ignore me. But Clara couldn't ignore it. Not when anxiety was already eating her alive. 20 minutes later, the cab stopped in front of a beautiful lake house hidden among tall pine trees. It looked expensive, modern, lonely. One light glowed from inside. Clara's heartbeat thundered. She stepped out slowly. The cold air hit her face instantly. For a long moment, she simply stood there staring at the house where the stranger who changed her life waited inside. Then the front door opened. And Noah Sterling stepped outside. Clara forgot how to breathe. He was taller than she imagined. Dark hair slightly messy, gray sweater, sharp jawline, and tired eyes that carried a sadness too old for someone his age. For several seconds, neither of them spoke. The silence between them felt enormous. Then Noah said quietly, "You came." His voice, the same voice she had imagined 100 times while reading his messages. Real now. Human. Dangerously warm. Clara crossed her arms tightly. You lied to me. Pain flickered across his face immediately. I know. There was no Isabel. No. You manipulated me. Yes. His honesty surprised her. No excuses. No denial. Just guilt. Rain began falling lightly around them. Neither moved. Finally, Clara asked the question burning inside her. Why? Noah looked at her for a long moment before answering. Because I was dying when I found you. The world seemed to stop. Clara stared at him. What? He gave a weak smile. I should probably explain that inside. The lake house was warm and smelled faintly like cedar wood and coffee. Clara sat stiffly on the couch while Noah moved quietly around the kitchen. Everything about him felt strangely familiar already. Like she had known him longer than a few weeks. He returned holding 2 mugs. She accepted hers carefully. You're not dying now, are you? She asked. Noah leaned back against the chair. Not exactly. That's not an answer. He sighed softly. 3 years ago, I was diagnosed with severe heart failure. Clara froze. Noah continued calmly, almost too calmly. The doctors said I'd eventually need a transplant. Without one, he shrugged lightly. Clara's stomach dropped. Suddenly, the blood-stained letter flashed in her mind. The goodbye letter. The final messages. The disappearing. "Oh my God," she whispered. Noah looked away toward the window. "I wrote those goodbye letters after my condition got worse last winter. I honestly thought I wouldn't survive long enough to see spring." Clara felt cold all over. "You made it sound like you were about to kill yourself." "I know." Pain filled his voice instantly. "I'm sorry. That wasn't fair to you." Clara stood up suddenly. "You don't get to say sorry like that fixes everything." Noah didn't defend himself. That somehow made her angrier. "You let me sit there thinking you were dead." "I know. You disappeared." "I know." Tears burned Clara's eyes. "You made me care about you and then vanished." The room fell silent. Noah looked at her quietly. Then he said the one thing she wasn't ready to hear. "I disappeared because I realized I loved you." Her anger cracked instantly. He continued softly. "And I thought if I stayed, I'd ruin your life." Clara's chest tightened painfully. Noah looked exhausted now. Like carrying truths too long had finally broken him open. "You deserve something normal," he said. "Not a sick man hiding behind fake letters." "You don't get to decide what I deserve," Clara whispered. Their eyes locked. And suddenly the room felt too small again. Too intimate. Too dangerous. Noah looked away first. "That's exactly why I tried to leave." That night Clara stayed in the guest room. Mostly because the storm outside became too strong to travel back into town. But sleep never came. She kept replaying everything. The lies. The letters. The loneliness in Noah's eyes. And worst of all, the terrifying possibility that his feelings were real. Around midnight, she heard soft piano music downstairs. Curious, Clara walked quietly toward the sound. She found Noah sitting alone in the dark living room beside an old piano. Moonlight spilled through the windows across his face while he played slowly. The melody sounded heartbreakingly sad. Noah noticed her after a moment. "Sorry," he said softly. "Did I wake you?" Clara shook her head. "You play beautifully." A faint smile appeared. "My mother taught me." There was grief in his voice again. Clara sat carefully on the edge of the couch. For a while neither spoke. Then she asked quietly, "Why me?" Noah stopped playing. The silence stretched long between them. Finally, he answered honestly, "Because you make people feel safe." Clara's throat tightened. Noah looked down at the piano keys. "The world feels loud all the time," he said softly. "But talking to you felt peaceful. Like finally breathing after being underwater too long." Clara couldn't look away from him. This man scared her. Not because he was dangerous. Because he was sincere. And sincere people could destroy you far more deeply than cruel ones. Noah glanced at her carefully. "You should hate me. Maybe I'm trying to. Is it working?" Clara opened her mouth. But no words came out. Because the truth was becoming impossible to ignore. She didn't hate him. Not even close. The next morning, Clara woke to voices downstairs. Male voices. Arguing. She stepped quietly toward the hallway. A man in a dark coat stood inside the living room speaking sharply to Noah. "You stopped answering your doctor again," the man snapped. "I'm fine." "Noah, your last episode nearly killed you." Clara froze. "Episode?" The stranger noticed her first. His expression shifted instantly. "You must be Clara." Noah rubbed his forehead tiredly. "Daniel, not now." Daniel ignored him. "I'm his older brother," he explained to Clara. "And apparently the only person in this family interested in keeping him alive." Clara looked between them nervously. "What happened?" Daniel laughed bitterly. "What always happens?" Noah pushes himself too far, ignores treatment, disappears emotionally, and pretends he's not falling apart. Daniel. "No," his brother said sharply. "She deserves the truth." Clara's anxiety returned immediately. "What truth?" Daniel stared at Noah for a long moment before speaking. "Noah finally got a transplant match 2 weeks ago." Clara blinked. "That's good news." Neither brother answered. Then Clara noticed it. The guilt on Noah's face. Her stomach twisted. "What happened?" Daniel's jaw tightened. "He refused the surgery." Clara stared at Noah in disbelief. You what? Noah stood slowly. It's complicated. No, Daniel snapped. It's selfish. Clara's pulse raced. You refused a heart transplant? Noah looked at her quietly. I was tired. Tired? Clara repeated. I didn't want someone else dying so I could live. Clara felt anger rise instantly. That's not your choice to make. You think I don't know that? His voice cracked for the first time. The room fell silent. Noah looked exhausted suddenly. Not physically. Emotionally. Like a man who had been fighting invisible wars for too long. Daniel sighed heavily. I'm going back to the hospital. The doctors still think there's a chance another match appears. Before leaving, he looked directly at Clara. Please don't let him disappear again. Then he walked out, leaving silence behind him. Heavy silence. Clara turned toward Noah slowly. You were just going to give up? Noah looked toward the lake outside. I spent years preparing to die, Clara. It becomes hard to suddenly imagine living again. Her chest hurt hearing that. Because beneath all his lies, there was real pain here. Real fear. And terrible loneliness. Clara stepped closer carefully. You should have told me. Noah laughed softly without humor. What part exactly? Hi, I'm the emotionally damaged man who created fake love letters because he was too scared to speak honestly. Despite herself, Clara almost smiled. Almost. Then Noah looked at her again. And the vulnerability in his eyes shattered something inside her. I didn't expect you to become important to me, he whispered. That sentence destroyed the distance between them. Clara felt it instantly. The pull. The danger. The truth neither wanted to say first. And then, Noah suddenly grabbed the edge of the table sharply. His face lost color. No. Before Clara could react, he collapsed. Noah. Clara dropped to her knees beside him. His body shook once before going still. For one horrifying second, she thought he was dead. Noah. Her voice cracked through the lake house. His breathing came in uneven gasps, one hand pressed tightly against his chest. Clara's hands trembled as she searched for her phone. Stay with me, she whispered desperately. Please stay with me. Noah tried to speak, but pain twisted across his face. Within minutes, an ambulance siren screamed through the quiet lakeside town. And Clara sat beside him the entire ride to the hospital, holding the hand of the man who entered her life as a stranger and somehow became the person she feared losing most. The hospital smelled like antiseptic and exhaustion. Doctors rushed Noah away immediately. Clara stood frozen outside the emergency room while nurses moved around her in a blur. Her mind couldn't catch up with reality. Just weeks ago, Noah had been anonymous words on a screen. Now she was sitting in a hospital praying he survived the night. Daniel arrived 20 minutes later. The moment he saw Clara's face, his expression softened. He collapsed again? Clara nodded silently. Daniel sighed heavily and sat beside her. For a long moment neither spoke. Then Clara whispered, "Why would someone refuse a chance to live?" Daniel leaned back in the chair slowly. Because Noah stopped believing his life mattered after our parents died. Clara looked at him carefully. Daniel stared toward the emergency room doors. Car accident, he said quietly. 5 years ago. 5 years. The same time Noah first saw her in Boston. Daniel continued. Our mother died instantly. Dad survived for 2 days. He swallowed hard. Noah blamed himself. Why? He was supposed to drive them that night. Clara's chest tightened painfully. But he canceled last minute because he wasn't feeling well. Silence settled heavily between them. And after that, Daniel said softly, he started treating his own life like something disposable. Clara suddenly understood. The sadness. The emotional distance. The fake letters. Noah wasn't just lonely. He was surviving with survivor's guilt eating him alive. Hours passed. Finally, a doctor approached them. He's stable for now, she explained. But his condition is worsening faster than expected. Clara's stomach dropped. The doctor continued carefully. If he receives another donor match soon, he has a strong chance. And if he doesn't? Clara asked quietly. The doctor hesitated, then answered honestly. He may not survive the year. That night Clara sat beside Noah's hospital bed while rain slid down the windows outside. Machines beeped softly around them. Noah looked pale under the dim lights. Weak. Human. Not the mysterious voice from her laptop anymore. Just a frightened man pretending not to be afraid. His eyes slowly opened. The moment he saw Clara, surprise crossed his face. You stayed. Clara folded her arms tightly. You collapsed dramatically. It felt rude to leave. A weak laugh escaped him. Then silence returned. Noah looked toward the ceiling. You shouldn't see me like this. Clara's chest hurt hearing that. Why do you keep deciding what I should and shouldn't do? He didn't answer immediately. Finally he whispered. Because caring about me always ends painfully. Clara stared at him for a long moment. Then she asked the question she feared most. Did you mean it? Noah looked confused. The letters, she whispered. The feelings. Did you mean them? His eyes softened instantly. Every wall around him seemed to break at once. Yes, he said quietly. Every single word. Clara felt tears sting her eyes immediately. Because deep down, she already knew. Noah swallowed hard. You were the first person who made me want a future again. That sentence shattered her completely. Before she realized what she was doing, Clara reached for his hand. And Noah held onto her like someone afraid of drowning. Over the next week, Clara remained in Michigan. She told herself it was temporary. Just until Noah recovered. But both of them knew it was more than that. Their connection deepened in quiet moments. Morning coffee in hospital rooms. Late-night conversations. Shared silences that somehow said everything. For the first time in years, Clara felt seen completely. Not judged. Not abandoned. Seen. And Noah slowly began living again. One evening, Clara found him awake watching snowfall outside the hospital window. You know, he said softly, I imagine meeting you 100 different ways. She smiled faintly. I doubt any version involved hospital gowns. True. She sat beside him carefully. Why didn't you tell me the truth sooner? Noah looked down. Because reality ruins beautiful things. Clara frowned slightly. That's sad. It's honest. No, she whispered. It's fear. Their eyes met. Noah looked away first. You make bravery sound simple. It isn't simple, Clara said softly. It's terrifying. Silence filled the room. Then Clara asked quietly, what scared you more? Dying or loving someone? Noah answered immediately. Loving someone. The honesty in his voice nearly broke her. 3 days later, the impossible happened. Another donor heart became available. Daniel rushed into the hospital room almost breathless. They found a match. Clara's heart leaped instantly. But Noah went silent. Completely silent. Fear entered Clara immediately. Noah. He stared at the floor. The old darkness returned to his eyes. Daniel noticed too. Don't do this again, he warned quietly. Noah rubbed his face tiredly. You don't understand. Then explain it to me. Clara snapped. Finally Noah looked at her. And, for the first time, she saw real terror. What if I survive and still remain this broken? The room went silent. Noah's voice cracked softly. What if I hurt you? What if I disappoint you? What if you realize loving me was a mistake? Clara's heart shattered hearing that. Because beneath everything, Noah truly believed he was unworthy of love. She moved closer slowly until she stood directly in front of him. Then she placed both hands gently on his face. You idiot, she whispered through tears. Noah's eyes closed instantly at the touch. You think perfection is what makes people worthy of love? Her voice trembled now. I'm scared too, Noah. I'm terrified. But loving someone isn't about guarantees. Tears slid down his face silently. And Clara finally said the truth she could no longer hide. I love you. Noah broke completely. A sob escaped him before he pulled her into his arms. And there, inside a quiet hospital room filled with fear and machines and uncertainty, two broken people finally stopped pretending they didn't need each other. The surgery happened the next morning. 8 hours. 8 unbearable hours. Clara sat outside the operating room the entire time. She barely ate. barely breathed. Every terrible possibility tortured her mind. What if she lost him now? What if they found each other only to end here? Daniel sat beside her quietly for most of the day. At one point he asked softly, "Do you know something strange?" Clara looked at him. "Noah hadn't written music in years before meeting you." Her chest tightened. Daniel smiled sadly. Then suddenly he started playing piano again every night. Clara looked down silently. Sometimes love returns people to themselves. Finally, late that evening, the surgeon appeared. Clara stood instantly. The doctor smiled tiredly. The surgery was successful. Clara nearly collapsed from relief. Tears flooded her eyes immediately. Daniel hugged her tightly while both laughed shakily from emotional exhaustion. For the first time in weeks, hope entered the room. Recovery was difficult, painful, slow, but Noah survived. And little by little, life returned to him. Color returned to his face. Strength returned to his body. And laughter returned to the lake house. Real laughter. The kind that heals old ghosts. One snowy evening, nearly 2 months later, Noah took Clara back to the place where they first truly met. The coffee shop in Boston. "It still feels unreal," Clara admitted. "What does?" "That a random message changed my entire life." Noah smiled softly. "You changed mine first." They sat near the window while snow covered the streets outside. For a while they simply watched the city together, peacefully. Then Clara suddenly remembered something. "The blood stain," she said quietly. Noah looked confused. "On the first letter." Understanding crossed his face slowly. Then he laughed softly. "Oh God." "What?" "It wasn't blood." Clara blinked. "What?" Noah looked embarrassed for the first time in months. "It was cherry jam." She stared at him. "You're kidding." "I dropped toast on the envelope while writing." Clara burst into shocked laughter. "You emotionally traumatized me over breakfast?" Noah laughed too. And suddenly the heaviness of the past felt lighter somehow. Human. Survivable. Spring arrived slowly after that. Clara moved temporarily to Boston. Noah continued recovering. And together they built something neither believed they deserved. A peaceful life. Not perfect. Not magical. Real. Some nights Noah still woke from nightmares. Some days Clara still feared abandonment. But now they faced those fears together. And that changed everything. 6 months later, Clara reopened her old writing account online. The Love Ghost. But this time, her bio changed. It now read, "Sometimes the right person finds you in the strangest way." People still requested letters, confessions, apologies, goodbyes. But Clara wrote differently now, with hope, because she finally understood something important. Love was never about perfect timing. It was about choosing someone despite fear, despite pain, despite uncertainty, again and again. One evening, Noah handed Clara a sealed envelope while they sat beside the lake. "What's this?" she asked. "A real letter," he said softly. This time with no lies. Clara opened it carefully. Inside, in Noah's familiar handwriting, were the words, "Dear Clara, you once asked me if people could love each other at the wrong time. I still think they can. But I also think love is stubborn. Sometimes it waits patiently through pain, fear, distance, and brokenness until two people are finally ready. Maybe that's what happened to us. You taught me surviving is not the same thing as living. And loving you made me want to live again. So this is the first honest letter I ever wrote you. No fake names. No hidden truths. No pretending. Just this. I love you. And for the first time in years, I'm no longer afraid of tomorrow. Noah." By the time Clara finished reading, tears blurred every word. She looked up at him silently. And Noah smiled nervously. "You know," he said, "you still haven't charged me for all those letters." Clara laughed through tears. Then kissed him beneath the golden sunset beside the lake where their real story finally began. And for the first time in a very long time, neither of them felt lonely anymore. Sometimes people enter our lives in strange ways. Through accidents. Through pain. Through anonymous messages in the middle of the night. And sometimes the people who heal us most are the ones carrying broken pieces themselves. Clara and Noah were never perfect, but they chose each other honestly. And in the end, that became stronger than fear. Because real love is not about finding someone flawless. It is about finding someone who sees your scars and stays. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to share it with someone you love. And remember, sometimes one message, one conversation, or one unexpected person can change your entire life forever.